Okay, friends, I am live. I expect this to be a very short session because I got things to do, like around 3:30 or so. But I wanted to check in and note and acknowledge a few things that I think are important. Anybody who's watched my channel for any length of time knows that I've done a lot of bitching and moaning about the tools that I use, the software I use, right? My toolkit is basically Blender, Krita, and Tahoma2D. And I'm just reviewing the shots I've done in the last couple days. Yesterday was I really only did one shot, but this is it. It's 17 seconds long. It's a pretty long shot. And then this morning, I jumped over to Tahoma2D and did this shot. Okay. So, what's the topic? Here's the deal. I was doing a fair amount of complaining about Tahoma2D because I was disappointed. I was excited, kind of, about maybe shifting some of my efforts over back to Tahoma2D because I hadn't been using it too much in a while. And I bumped into pretty quickly a technical problem that I've reviewed in the last couple live streams, so I'm not going to recap it here. But I want to give credit where credit is due, because for all of my complaining, if you look at this sort of channel on the OpenToonz Tahoma2D channel on my Discord, what you find is that I need to give a lot of credit here where credit is due. Tom Doing Art, number one. This is a hell of a good guy. Smart guy. He and I have some differences of opinion, probably in the political realm, but absolutely a solid dude. Tom Doing Art. Darren T. Where was Darren? Here's Darren. Expressed some curiosity about the issue. And apparently, I don't know this person, Radis? Yes, Radis. But Radis also apparently, according to Tom, played a role in sort of pinning down what the issue was. So there's a problem with the fill tool. And not only did they kind of jump all over it and apparently get some results, fixing the bug or whatever, and obviously, I don't know how to even say the guy's name, the domain developer, Manung John, I think is what he's called. So those four people all deserve a lot of credit because they seem to have found the problem, and of course it's the fix is in the nightly builds, and so it won't integrate its way into the main code base probably for a bit. But I wanted to at least say that for all of my pissing and moaning, the truth is that the community out there surrounding this crazy work I'm doing is really a pretty decent group of people who deserve credit. There's not really much in it for them other than just feeling good about it, I guess. But so I am not using the nightly build, okay, that has this fix. And the reason is because for the moment, the main thing is I'm using 1.4 and all the problems I bumped into in 1.5, I'm not bumping into them here. So for the moment, I'm going to stick with 1.4 until maybe this fix has sort of integrated its way into the main code base. But anyway, so this is me officially saying, look, I want to give these guys credit and thank them for their effort, because it's really it really underscores that there's probably 100 situations in the last 2 years where I'm complaining about, hey Darren, about Krita usually, but yet when I engage with the community, what happens? Well, they actually kind of bust their asses to help out, and so anyway, I wanted to say that you guys are really a very top shelf group of people. And again, Darren, I haven't seen the fix. I've followed the thread. I'm not gonna fiddle around with nightly builds because there's no benefit to me testing that particular scenario, because I'm very sure that if he found the problem and fixed it, then I'm sure it probably is fixed. So there's a little demarcation here between continuing to chase that rabbit versus just doing what works because I have work to do kind of thing. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just getting work done. But the thing that may surprise some of you guys though is that, it was about 2 months ago, maybe 3, where I was really on the Blender train, and I'm glad I have been. It's been a really good move for me. Getting away from mainly focusing on Krita has been useful. However, I gotta tell you, the interesting thing is, and I've said this before, but did I really mean it? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about this. But if you're new to the animation game, and basically there's let's say there's 2 mental models that you might bring to the table. One is you just want to be creative and kind of be able to do all the cool creative things you want to do. Okay, that's one person. Then the other person might be somebody who's thinking in terms of a job, thinking in terms of employment. Okay, so my general advice to the community would be, if you're the second person, you probably should put your eggs in the Blender basket, because it's a much bigger community. It's a much more commercially assimilated tool. Blah 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 blah. The problem, to a degree, is that for me, I'm in the first camp. I'm just the guy that I'm just doing my own thing in my little corner of the world. And the fact is, Tahoma2D is probably the best tool. It actually probably is the best tool. Krita does have too many bugs, and Blender's got certain ways of working that are always as powerful or more so than what you have here. But there's always more housekeeping involved and blah, 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 blah. The fact is, Tahoma2D is one of the best tools out there to just freaking get the job done. As you can see with this shot, I mean, the plastic tool is huge. The basic thing that's the attractor to either Krita or Blender pretty much is sculpting. It's the liquefy tool. It's the ability to take a drawing that really isn't quite good enough and just mush the lines around with a tool until it finally looks right. The thing is, you can't quite get that in Tahoma2D. It would be nice if we had something analogous to the plastic tool. Did I say plastic tool? I didn't mean plastic tool. I meant liquefy and or sculpting. However, let's just take a look here. I mean, and by the way, just for the record, for those who are wondering, I'm in 1.4. When I did the work I did today, I actually need to... Okay, when I did the work today, I did in fact ink it with this brush here, which is a My Paint brush. And I'll show you the reason why I did that. Okay, I'm going to create another level here so I can turn the volume or the opacity of this one. Oop, I just turned down the wrong one, I think. The reason I did it is because all the time I've been working on this cartoon, I have had a little bit of an obsession with the general aesthetic of scanned pencil art that you have in the anime space. And that aesthetic has pretty much propagated into other American productions like Avatar, The Last Airbender, and blah, 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 right? That type of thing. So when I can take this, which is essentially a pencil, but just kind of tighten it down and get that kind of thing going, I like the look. What can I say? I like the way it looks. And I like the feel of being able to somewhat scribble, and then when like I've got my line right, I just press a little harder and there it is. So now this would not be perfect because frankly ink lines should be cleaner than that. But here's the thing, if you're like me and you are a little hung up on the whole plastic tool or the liquefy kind of thing, just be aware that the selection tool in Tahoma2D does get you there most of the time in terms of that type of toolkit or benefit. What the hell am I talking about? What I mean is, if you grab this, the whole thing is just hit the control key, because when you hit the control key, you can you can't just mush the lines around, but what you can do is you can actually modify them. You can actually bend this into shape, right? And not only that, but once you do, you can immediately just hit the B key and be right back to drawing. You don't have 3 or 4, clicks that you have to do. It's like S, grab, control, drag a little bit, B key, now you're back to work. So in that sense, as far as a smooth, fast signal flow, I guess I'm drawing Luca here. I didn't really know I was drawing Luca at first. So anyway, that's kind of the point of really coming on for this live stream. Is number 1, to say thank you. Number 2, to acknowledge that I do think I'm going to be using Tahoma2D more going forward. I don't think the thing is, Darren, I want to say this emphatically. It's a weird thing. Let me think about how I want to say this. If the tool, if like liquify or sculpting in Blender, it's very instant and it's very intuitive. Okay? And so it can become a bit of an addiction because it's wonderful. It really is. When it works, it's great. You get degradation of your lines in Krita, of course, because you're mushing pixels around. You're not mushing vectors around. But in truth, of all the situations I run into that because of that addiction I use that tool, the truth is probably 70% of the time, I don't actually need to use that tool. In fact, it would probably be faster to just erase and freaking redraw the lines. Whatever. So that tool has probably done more to prevent me from staying more anchored to the Tahoma2D world. And I am kind of seeing that that's probably not that smart. Here's a good example of what I'm talking about. If I grab this little thing right here, but then I hit control, I can actually kind of fix that, If you look a little closer. Now again, in Tahoma, you do get some degradation of your line. But then again, once you beat it into shape, what's saying you can't do this? Just go over it with your brush and tighten it up a bit. What did that take? 1 second? Come on. Right? So, and if there's a greater lesson for everybody out there in the sort of animation space, it would be the same thing that the Disney guys said years and years and years ago. The most important thing is just be able to draw. Just be able to draw. Everything else is secondary. Because if you didn't have all of these fancy schmancy digital tools, and all you had was the idea in your mind, what you're trying to create, I'm telling you, you would find a way to do it. If you really, really wanted to do it, you would find a way. And you might do it all on paper. And if you're doing it on paper, you don't have anything else. You have nothing else except your ability to draw. And, obviously, erase. That's it. And this is the important calculus about that. Is that the person who would sit here for 6 hours a day and just draw, you put them against the person who kind of knows enough about this tool or that tool to be dangerous, but that person is always poking around trying out the latest add-on or plug-in or script or whatever that's going to somehow make their job easier, just like AI, just like the AI thing. Like, it's all going to make our job so much easier, and then the negative side, of course, is it's going to take our job away. This is all nonsense. The guy that sits there and draws for 6 hours a day is going to beat you every single time, because the core skills in the entertainment space have never changed. If you want to run your own game as opposed to being part of a team, then you need to learn to write. You need to learn to draw. And in my case, I take it even further because I say you need to learn to compose. You need to be able to create the music or even do the voices. You can probably find ways to get this done. But this is the key. You have to write and you have to draw. And then you could put painting in there too, as I guess, right? And you can use your AI tools to make that process easier. But at the end of the day, I've talked about this a bit when I've gotten into sort of ranting about psycho-emotional health and all this sort of thing. The bottom line is, every day, you are given a certain number of units of energy. Every single day. And you use them all. You use them all. That's why you need to sleep. These are all your units of energy. The question is very simple. What are you going to give these units to? Okay? So the guy that draws just sits there and he just grinds away. He says, I'm going to draw. I'm going to just keep on doing it. And at the end of the day, he's got something to show for it. The other guy says, well, I'm going to draw right here. The example I gave at the end of the live stream a couple days ago, this is really directed to Amar, but this is what I said. I'm going to reiterate it here because I don't know if he saw it. But here was what I said. I said, I actually ended the live stream, but I forgot to turn it off on the YouTube tab on my browser. So the live stream kept going. And then I realized, oh, it's still going. So I had one more thing I wanted to say. Here's what it was. I said, look, Amar, my friend, draw a circle. Just draw a circle. I said, okay, you draw a circle. I will guarantee you did not draw a perfect circle. Okay? I want you guys to really think about this. You draw a circle, but you didn't draw a perfect circle. Now the question becomes, what are you going to do with your units of energy? All I'm saying is, if you're going to either give your energy, the right answer is, I'm going to draw another circle. How long did that take? 2 seconds? Okay, this is the problem. We're sensitive, creative souls here. You drew a circle, and let's just say it's no good. It's not good enough. Are you going to take your units of energy and give those units of energy to bemoaning the fact that this circle sucked, bemoaning the fact that you weren't born with enough talent? This is all BS, by the way. But you're gonna spend the rest of the day telling yourself all these stories and punishing yourself, all because you just didn't quite come up to the standard. And what's insane about it is, if you do a whole career doing this is still going to keep happening because you're always learning. You're always improving. Wouldn't it be better to take the minimum units of energy and just try drawing another circle? And this is all I'm saying is, we are habituated to give so much energy to complaining, to beating ourselves up, punishment, self-punishment. This is, and I'm not saying that it's not good to be self-critical. You should be. You should look very clinically at what you're doing and what you're doing wrong. But if you're giving an inordinate amount of time to complaining, to punishing yourself, to, why was I born with my talent instead of Dave's talent or Darren's talent? You have a right to do that. But what you're going to do is, you're going to, this is what people don't articulate very well when they talk about manifestation. Okay? We're not getting into woo-woo land here. Manifestation is not woo-woo. It's not esoteric. It's very, very grounded in reality. The reality is, if you say, oh, I drew a circle and it wasn't good enough, okay, I'm going to draw another circle. And I might have to draw 3 or 4. I might have to draw 10. I might have to draw 1,000. But my units of energy are far better invested in taking the situation and making it better than, the other one I personally think is the biggie, because I know I've been this guy and I see a lot of people that you can kind of sense that they are this person, is what I call poking. You're going to complain, you're going to punish yourself, you're going to say, why me? And you're going to poke around for the tool or the technology that makes it better. And the irony, of course, of that is that the very thing you're poking around with is the same thing you're complaining about is going to wreck your life, because in the AI space, you're afraid that the AI is going to take your opportunity away. These people that have this problem are not typically working in the animation industry. They're people who want to be creators. Okay? If you were actually in the industry and you got an employer with his gun at your head saying you better fucking draw another circle, you're going to draw another circle. Right? Partly because you're being paid, partly because you're afraid of losing the job. And so in fact, in that scenario, it's kind of ironic that corporate climate that we all bemoan, if we're progressively minded, is actually helping you to stay anchored to reality and deal with the damn thing. Deal with it. Do it. Because what happens is, all effort causes neurological change. All effort makes you grow. It is slow. It's like building muscle when you lift weights. It's only ever going to happen so fast, period. You can't speed it up because your neurons have to adapt to new stresses. And you learn. If you do this, you will get better, and you'll get better much more quickly than you ever thought you would. If you waste all your time complaining and punishing yourself and why me and telling everybody in the Discord all the excuses why it's so much harder for you than everybody else, and meanwhile you keep poking and poking and poking, trying to find the tool that's going to make it all magical, the very tool that you actually have disdain for, because if it does make it magical, by definition, all of your ability has become irrelevant. How stupid is all of this? Pretty stupid. If you want to animate, then animate. Don't poke. Don't look at all these other tools. You've got to be able to write. You've got to be able to draw. And the only way you ever get better at it is to do it. Do it. Do it. Now, if you do that in a disciplined way for a month, let's say, and then you can honestly look at yourself and go, you know what? I'm really, truly not getting any better. Nothing's improving here. Okay, fine. Maybe you got to up the game. Maybe you need to get some better education or training or help. You know? Or in some cases, what you'll find is you need to say, you know what? Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Because not only am I feeling like I suck at it, but also I'm not really having that much fun doing it. If I was having fun, would I be sitting there complaining and punishing myself and poking around looking for the magic tool? No, I would not. If I was enjoying the journey, and if you're not enjoying the journey, why the hell are you even poking at it in the first place? Now, there's a balance to that. The balance is that you have to take action first. You do something, like drawing a circle, and you have to do that in order to discover that you suck at it. Before you drew the circle, you didn't know you sucked at it. So at least do something. And when your friends come around and say, you know, you're making a good effort here, pal, but you're just not quite where you need to be, and we can see it. Can you see it? You say, yeah, I can see it. Well, then what are you doing about it? Well, you know, I've got this problem and that problem. Yeah, dude, everybody's got problems. Trust me, folks, I'm speaking to myself here. This is the person I used to be, and I still have to remind myself not to be this person. You must take action first in order to get some sort of response from the world that tells you you're on the right track or you're not. And if you're not, then you have to try again. You have to try something different. There is no other path. There is no other path. If you want to be good at it, you got to do it shitty for a good while before you're ever going to be able to you know, have the pleasure of moving your stylus or your pencil or your pen or whatever and seeing what emerges on the screen in front of you thrills your soul. Okay, because that's really what we're talking about. When I wiggle my stupid little stylus, is what appears on the screen, actually I'm going to redo this, is what appears on the screen thrilling my soul? Do I love it? Am I going, oh my God, I can't believe this came out of my stylus, right? You know, one of the hardest things for me, in by way of example, that's a very real, relatively recent example, would be female anatomy, right? It's the idea of, God, how those hips and the weight, you know, how to capture that. You know, this is obviously a girl with a fairly small bosom here that we're drawing. So I guess we'll enlarge it a bit. But yeah, just finding that feel to where it's like, oh my gosh, my stylist did that. And it's not great, it's not amazing, but it's okay. It's and what I found was very simple. I got better at it. The reason I got better at it is because I just did it. I did a lot of it. You know, like this, like if you see the body weight here curling under here, and then you get this demarcation at the hips where her butt kind of sticks out, and it's really holding her weight up, because this is a trick you know maybe you've never heard, but this is a very good trick. Is look at the center of the head and then draw a straight line down, and that's going to be your center of gravity. And if those legs are not flanking that center of gravity, it will feel like the character is like this one. She's about to fall over. Why? Because her center of gravity is actually here, when it needs to be here, under her head. You see? So, you know, these are just little tips and tricks you pick up as you do it. There's nothing in the world of Blender plugins that's going to teach you that. Ever. Hell, the stuff that AI is generating really isn't even that great. If you want to talk about like landscapes and color and maybe composition, then yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But the thing that thrills the soul of an animator isn't that. I mean, to a degree it is, but mainly it's people, it's action, it's motion and emotion. You know? Hello guys, I will move the slider back in the There you go. Yeah, well I was kind of giving credit where credit is due, frankly. You know? But anyway, I wanted to say that. Let's see, it's 3:29, so I need to wrap it up here. But I wanted to say that because, you know, I'm still learning every day. I mean, I think to me it was profound to see the and it shouldn't have surprised me, frankly, but to see the willingness of you guys to just, you know, let's just help out. Let's just help out. Let's see if we can solve this problem. Help Dave. I'm going, you know, why would anybody want to do that? Because they're your friends, stupid, you know, whatever. But, you know, I thought that was really kind of cool, and I appreciate it. You know? And I don't want people to struggle. And frankly, you know what? When it comes to this YouTube channel, let's face it, guys. If we roll back the clock 5, 6, 7 years, the complexion of this channel and who comes here has literally not changed at all in 5 years. In terms of my audience or my friends, my group, my tribe, it is what it is, apparently. Because it hasn't changed or grown much at all in years. It doesn't matter how good my show is. It doesn't matter how good I am at drawing or whatever. You could talk about metrics and analytics and, you know, doing things in the social media space to make more people aware. Those are all perfectly valid. That's fine. I've chosen not to really do much of that at all. I'm just focused on, I just want to create the damn show. You know, my focus is on just doing the work. And that's just a choice. And everybody makes their own choice. What I don't want is I don't like to see people struggle. Like, in other words, the thing, and okay, so there's a point to that. I don't care that my YouTube channel has not grown. I don't care. I literally could not possibly care less. There is no revenue model there that's realistic. Hell, I used to make like $10 a month on a YouTube channel. And then YouTube changes the rules. So I'm not even qualified for whatever they call it these days, revenue sharing, or, you know, I'm not even qualified. I have to get like another 1,000 hours of viewership now since they changed the rules. I'm going, what the hell? I don't care about this. Why do I care about this? What I do care about is this. This is what I care about. I wanted to find out how to draw women better. I'm like, if I'm gonna do the Frazetta thing, right? You know, the you know, these voluptuous babes that Frank drew, right, with their big hips. There's no reason to do it other than I just think it looks cool. You know, that's it. I just think it looks cool, right? The way he would do eyes, so they had this almost slightly Asian sort of character to them. You know, I just thought it was cool. I'm not really using it in my show too much, you know, but that's beautiful to me. Not that what I did right here is exactly beautiful, because it's really not, but But I'm chasing my muse, and my muse is not having a big YouTube channel. My muse is this. And the idea that I hold out the hope for is that, look, if I just do this one thing pretty well, and the entertainment value in the show is there. In other words, if you watch the show for a half an hour, and you kind of bust out laughing maybe 3 to 5 times, I've probably done my job, actually. You know, as long as it's got enough entertainment value to just make people a little happier than they were before, then I'm probably doing okay. And that's it. That's the whole story. There is nothing more to it than that. It's not about money. I mean, pity the fool who says, "Well, I can't really do this because you know I have to hold down a job or whatever." Yes, that's a difficulty, but you know, a lot of people have that difficulty, and it may require you to make some sacrifices that are either risky or painful. And I'm pretty risk averse actually, so I don't really recommend people get too crazy, you know, go for broke financially, put their family in danger or whatever, because they're. And in fact, I when I started making films around 2007, 8, somewhere in there, I really was convinced that I probably had something magical inside of me that was, you know, that I was going to be successful at that. And guess what? I wasn't. Turned out I really didn't have anywhere near as much skill as I thought I did. And the only thing that changed that or turned the corner had nothing to do with developing the skills so much as just finding out what's working in the marketplace and just try to sort of copy that. That's it. That's all I did. So if somebody's starting a new cartoon, I would say just look at the cartoons that are successful and do something that's, you know, a little different, but kind of along the same lines as what you know the marketplace is currently buying. And I've said it before, but the thing that makes my cartoon weird in that regard is that there really isn't much in the marketplace that, you know, fits what I'm doing. So maybe that's why it's gaining some traction. I don't know. I still, to this day, still don't really quite know why. It's doing it right. Okay, so you're listening at 2x speed. Well, I'm not going to be on that much longer. I got to get out of here. Things to do. But I don't know. The point was, the most important takeaway was the thing about the circle. If you like animation and you draw a circle and that circle's not good enough, you now have a simple choice. Are you going to simply draw another circle and try to get it right or do better? Or are you going to waste the units of energy you have today on complaining, on groping for, you know, the big secret, watching YouTube videos? Because you know what? At the end of the day, if that's what you do, here's the dirty little truth, friend. If you give your energy to all that nonsense that doesn't actually improve you, there's only one reason why you do that. You know why? Because you want to. Because at the end of the day, the truth is you don't want to do this. You want to do this. And that's okay. That's your choice. But don't kid yourself into thinking you're going to create a cartoon someday. That's ridiculous. That's absolute nonsense. The only way you're going to create a cartoon is you have to do what I'm doing, which is you have to keep drawing. Keep drawing, keep writing, keep composing, you know, keep playing the piano, keep working on, you know, doing those different kinds of voices that you do and that sort of thing. Pretty cool. Actually, I'm going to show you guys something I did today, just this morning, just because I thought it was really fun. Let me look here. Give me just a second to look this up. Hang on. Almost there. Almost there. Okay, so here's what I did. I thought this was kind of funny. This morning when I was getting breakfast, I looked at the pickles that Valerie buys. And I noticed that on the top of the jar, there was this, a safety button. And it just took my mind in a really sort of Monty Python direction. So this is what came to my mind. What came to my mind was, thank God, finally. We've certainly all felt that feeling of cold dread as we go to open that jar of pickles, wondering, am I truly safe here? What dangers lurk just below the surface? Is any jar of pickles ever truly safe? But wait, now we can all rest at ease. Safe at last, all thanks to this tiny white dot on the top of the pickle jar, the safety button, a veritable symbol of victory in our shared quest to achieve security for all. Oh, I can certainly recall feeling a tad unsettled, wondering if I had, by chance, received a particularly aggressive batch of petite dills. But then I remembered. Ha! There's no need to call the constable. Simply press the safety button, and all will be well. The great society has never been so completely within our reach, friends. I say, let us come together this day and add a safety button to every single product, a truly revolutionary innovation. I, for one, have never felt quite so safe. Okay, stupid. It's the stupidest thing in the world. It just came into my mind this morning, you know? It just popped in my head. And I wrote it down. I'm like, it just strikes me funny. Anyway, I don't even know why I shared that, but I thought it was kind of funny. Anyway, I got to get out of here. Thanks for hanging out. Again, thanks Darren, thanks Radis, thanks Tom, thanks Menang John, however you say that. And Awkward Penguin, thanks for hanging out. But for now, I got to get out of here. So everybody have a good day. As you know, there will be more later.